Hello and welcome. You're listening to the ADHD Support Talk Radio podcast. ADHD Support Talk is sponsored by ADDclasses.com. Visit www.addclasses.com to sign up for free webinars today. Well, welcome back to ADHD Support Talk Radio. I'm your co-host, Lynne Edris, and I'm a productivity coach, and I help overwhelmed professionals reduce procrastination, improve time management, and get more done more easily so that they have more time, energy, and margin for what they love most. I'm a woman with ADD myself, so I've been where so many of my clients are, and I've come out the other side, so to speak. So I've gone from living in that constant state of chaos and overwhelm and underperformance that so many of us with ADHD know too well, to a life of more success and fulfillment than I ever dreamed was possible at one time. And I know you can share the same success yourself. You can learn more about me and what I do and the programs and services I offer at www.coachingadvantages.com. And when you sign up on my website or text the keyword HACK, H-A-C-K, to 444-999, I'll send you my 7 foolproof productivity hacks to help you add hours of free time to your weeks by investing just a few smart minutes each day. Well, I am excited today. I have with me Coach Maddy Cote, and we are going to talk about ADHD thinking traps. So welcome, Maddy.
Thank you, Lynn. It's wonderful to be here.
Glad to have you. This is long overdue. Been wanting to have you on the show for a while.
Yes.
Well, please go ahead and introduce yourself, Maddy, and tell our listeners a little bit about you and how they can get in touch with you.
The best way to reach me is to call or text me at 514-816-3142. And I am in Montreal. I'm a Montreal ADHD coach. I started, I'm like the pioneer in Montreal that started ADHD coaching over 15 years ago. And I like it. I'm the ADHD coach in Montreal that has ADHD. I love that. So do my clients. And but I do work on the national and the international level with mainly young adults that are in transition. So from college to university or high school to college, that sort of thing. And I'm really lucky that I absolutely love what I do, and it's an honor to work with my clients. Just seeing them achieve their goals and live in their passion, it's such an honor. It's people who absolutely want more for themselves, and witnessing that and being a part of it is really great.
That's amazing. Gives me goosebumps. That's the best part of the job, right?
That's so nice.
It really is. So tell us, what made you think of this topic? What kinds of things do you want to share? Let it rip.
This topic is absolutely wonderful. As many ADHDers, we tend to suffer a lot from these thinking traps. They really negatively impact our lives. They keep us in like negative patterns. So what they really are like thinking misinterpretations. And they drive maladaptive behavior and thoughts. So it's really important to be aware of them so that we can like bust out of them.
Absolutely. But I often tell my clients, what's going on between your ears is, the toughest nut to crack sometimes.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely. We say things to ourselves that if we said to other people, they'd never talk to us again.
No, so, and most of us would never say those things, right?
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about some of the thinking traps specifically.
Well, you don't have to have ADHD to have thinking traps. But, there are so many. But most of my clients tend to complain about emotional reasoning. And this is, believing that something is true just because you feel it to be true. Sort of like, I know he's the man for me. I'm going to marry him. I feel it in my bones at the first date. This is like emotional reasoning is something that really plagues we ADHDers, at a deep level because we tend to believe those emotions.
Interesting. So thoughts are not feelings, and feelings are not facts. I said that backwards. Feelings are not facts, and thoughts are not facts.
Yeah, very well put. Very well put. Another one that's interesting is like black and white thinking. So I'll get people in my office like, oh, I didn't do the laundry, I'm a bad mom. And, I'll say, I just heard you say that you didn't do the laundry, and that wasn't proof that you were a bad mom. So ADHDers, because we tend to think in extremes, we tend to have that black and white thinking. And it really gets us into a lot of trouble.
Absolutely. That's a big one for our tribe, isn't it?
It really is. It's just because we're so used to these extremes. And, it's a win or lose situation. And, it's not black or white. It's gray. There are many colors in the rainbow. And that's how I like to, remind my clients just what's the gray zone? What's a way you can bust out of this? Another one that's interesting that a lot of people tend to do is overgeneralizing. So that's like using words like always or never. I'm always late. And that's really dangerous because it's just not possible. Like in coaching, they're flag words. Like when people say, oh, I never think about this, that's not true. And it is, the problem is that we tend to believe what we say to ourselves as true. And, when you say I'm always late, I had a client last week say this to me, and I was like, you've never been late for our sessions. So it was very interesting. She's late for work often, but, is not often late for our sessions, and that just disproved it. So it makes it interesting.
It really does, and that's a really big one for our tribe as well. And like you said, they tend to be like absolute and extreme statements. So always, never, every single time, those kinds of things. When you hear yourself saying or thinking those kinds of things, that's a red flag that you need to take a look at how you're perceiving this stuff. Absolutely.
Exactly. And the best way to stop thinking about these things and is to recognize that you are in a thinking trap. So just being aware of what they are and recognizing that you're falling into this way of thinking. Like I always get this red light. It's like, really? Check it out. It's very shocking. But a really good way, Lynn, to bust out of it is to ask, what else could this mean? Sort of like I get a lot of people who relate to this, and it's that person looked at me funny, they don't like me. And that's called personalizing. And a way to bust out of it is to really look at what else could this mean. Like maybe that person is thinking about their grandmother that's in the hospital and who isn't doing well, or that they're simply in pain, or they're looking at us because they're jealous of us or want to meet us. The trick is not to stick with that one thought that you're clinging to.
You've got to notice it, and then you've got to notice that it needs to be addressed, right? The personalizing piece, that's something I hear a lot from my clients. And I know when my son was younger, who has ADHD, he would come home and say things like, Mr. So-and-so, a particular teacher hates me. And I called it the what else could it be game. Okay, so let's play the what else could it be game. Why do you think that Mr. So-and-so hates you? And what else could that be? Right? Could he just be having a bad day? Could he be sick? Could something be going on at home? Could he just have gotten yelled at by the principal? I mean, you have no idea. And then that sort of makes you think, when you question those things and you have the ability to notice them, and you have the sort of the presence of mind, I guess, or the mindfulness, the consciousness to question them, then you can start to replace them. You can start to let go of them. You can start to break out of those traps.
That's exactly right. I love that. What else could this mean game? It's vital, and it's great that we give that as examples to our children, because when you catch it young, you stop like the negative pattern from going, which is fantastic. You're a great mom. I put you in the white.
I try,
I black and white the other way.
Right. Thanks, Maddy. But it's so true for us as adults, right? Most of us as adults, we've believed these things for so long. We've thought them for so long. And I always say it's your voice, right? So of course you believe it. And we don't even question these things that really are holding us back. And they really are traps. I love the way you frame that.
Yeah, it's really, because it's technically, in psychology, they call them thinking cognitive distortions, so thinking distortions. It's just in the coaching world, we use them differently. It's really about busting out of them and how can you deal with them now. Whereas in the psychological world, they deal with it in other ways. But the trick is really not to stay stuck with only that one thought. That thinking that's proof of what you're thinking. Go out, and if you absolutely want to, check it out. That's really what's important. Like your son can talk to the teacher at break and say, I feel you're upset with me. Is there something I can do? Is there something wrong? And if it's that important to somebody, and check it out, I tell them. If it's bothering you, ask the person how they feel. And most of the time when my clients do, they're shocked. Yeah. It's a real element of surprise. It takes courage to ask, but that element of surprise is really worth it, and that's really when I see work being done, for sure.
Absolutely. I always say, you've got to find the proof, right? And if you don't have sort of irrefutable proof that what you're thinking is true, then it's usually not that hard to go get it.
Exactly.
Right? To ask the other person, or to do the math if it feels like you're always stuck at that red light, right? Do the math. Start keeping a tally. Sometimes, having some sort of data or something more tangible to look at can help too. If you're telling yourself you're always late, start paying attention to, really what the sort of the frequency is. Plus that gives you a baseline to see when things are getting better. But, what's that expression? Data doesn't lie, Yeah. It's important.
It really truly is, because when you see the proof, it really becomes like, my language has been wrong. And we tend to speak in absolutes, ADHDers, and because of that, when we see the proof, we get shocked, and there's that fabulous learning moment that, I adore. I see it in my clients, and it's like, aha.
Yep, the switch flips on, right?
Something. Yeah.
That's the best part of what we do, right? We see the switch flip on, and then the sky can be the limit from there.
Yes.
And we have to get ourselves out of these traps. It's so important, and such a great way of, great way of framing it, a great way of, helping people understand it, that what's going on between your ears might be your biggest obstacle after all. Yes, and I often tell my clients, no amount of strategies, tips, tricks, systems, and tools are going to help you for the long haul if you don't get what's going on between your ears in alignment with, what you're trying to achieve. And that's sort of a coachy way of saying, you got to get your thinking in order.
Yeah. And really, what I find great about this topic is, it's really a tip of how to check out your thinking. I tell clients to put elastic bands on their wrists, and when they fall into thinking traps, lightly snap it. We're not
right.
we're not harming ourselves here, but lightly snap it and find any other possibility than the one you're sticking to. And they love that. It's a tool, and it's what else could this mean? And challenge your thinking.
That's wonderful. It's so very important. And I think it's also one of the things that isn't talked enough about when it comes to learning how to live well and how to be successful with ADHD and ADD. But it has to be addressed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you've given us some great insights, some great information, some great things to think about and things to try. Is there anything else you want to leave with our listeners?
Well, I really just want to emphasize that, you don't have to have ADHD to, have thinking traps. But many of us do claim to suffer from them, and they keep us in negative patterns. So if you feel that you are in negative patterns in your lives, really, really try to play the what else game, and put an elastic band on your wrist, because it really does make a huge difference when we challenge that negative thinking.
It really does. It really does. Well, thanks so much for being here, Maddy. Could you tell our listeners how they can find more about you and reach out to you if they want to?
Of course. So thank you, Lynn, very much. You can find me at www.thecenterofattentionforadd.com or call me at 514-816-3142. It's been a pleasure to be here with you.
My pleasure. Thanks so much. Again, everyone, that's Coach Maddy here with us today talking about ADHD thinking traps. And I appreciate your time, Maddy. I appreciate what you've shared with us. And all of you out there listening, I appreciate your attention. Thanks so much.